What the Romans did for us. From the year 400 to the year 1900, no one had central heating, and very few had hot baths. Winston Churchill. In 1980, the National Theatre in London staged a play that caused outrage for its violent and explicit scenes. Although it was called The Romans in Britain, it told only part of the story. A truly historical play would feature much more in the way of dull practical achievement. There would be graphic road-building scenes, shockingly good engineering, and all the drama of flushing toilets. Julius Caesar made the first official contacts between Rome and Britain in 55–54 BC, but the full Roman conquest came nearly a century later. The Emperor Claudius decided to invade in AD 43 because he was the new Emperor of Rome and needed to prove he was a strong ruler. In order to be sure of defeating the Celts, Claudius landed with 50,000 men at the site of modern-day Richborough in Kent. The Roman occupation of Britannia, most of modern-day England and Wales, was to last from AD 43 to 410 BC. Although the occupation of Britain lasted nearly 400 years, it remained incomplete. The more developed southeast was conquered quickly, though there were later rebellions. This success was due to diplomacy as well as arms. The Romans benefited from alliances with sympathetic native rulers, who then enjoyed favored status. The advancing Roman army built fortresses, camps, and roads, and helped with construction in towns such as Camalodunum, Colchester, Britannia's first capital. The earliest towns, dating from the mid-1st century, reveal wooden houses and shops, as well as stone public buildings, such as temples and administrative headquarters. The Romans also brought their particular style of architecture to the countryside in the form of villas, the most impressive of which contained garden courtyards, mosaics, wall paintings, and Mediterranean statues. Many of the native tribes in Britannia, including the Iceni, the Brigantes, and the Atrebates, were initially given semi-independence by the Romans. In AD 60, the king of the Iceni died, and the Romans decided to remove this independence. They seized property and raped his daughters. The girl's mother, the tall, flame-haired Queen Boudica, rose up in fury against the Romans. The Iceni destroyed the towns of Camalodunum, Verulamium, St. Albans, and the flourishing port of Londinium, London. The Romans eventually defeated the rebels in a battle during which, according to one Roman report, 80,000 Britons and just 400 Romans were killed, though it is difficult to judge the accuracy of this report. After the battle, Boudica was determined not to be captured. She gave her daughters deadly poison before taking her own life. According to popular legend, she is buried under platform 9 of King's Cross. To this day, Boudica remains a symbol of revolt against occupation. After the Boudican revolt, the Romans began to expand their area of control. The Roman province now included Wales, northern England, and, briefly, southern Scotland. In AD 122, the Emperor Hadrian visited Britain. He ordered the construction of a 117-kilometer-long stone wall from the river Tyne to the Solway Firth. Hadrian's Wall separated the Roman province from the barbarian north, and was a visual demonstration of the power of Rome. However, its true historical significance is that it symbolizes the failure of the Romans to conquer the whole of Britain. The Romans brought many architectural splendors to Britain, and also a money economy. The Roman troops had cash wages and were able to purchase items with them. The Romans started charging taxes and creating markets for their goods. Consequently, by the late 1st, early 2nd centuries AD, people commonly used coins, even on the humble farms where most of the native population lived. Cultural life in Roman Britain was complex yet harmonious. Romans and incomers from other provinces introduced their own religious customs, such as the worship of the fertility goddess Isis and the god of wine Bacchus, without destroying indigenous Celtic beliefs. Britons adopted Romanized names, for example, Tiberius Claudius Cogidubnus, and the elite spoke and wrote the Roman language, Latin. Ironically, Latin still had no word for grey, even after the Romans had suffered 400 years of British weather. People also continue to speak the native language of Britannia. It survives today in Wales and Cornwall as Brythonic. The end of Roman Britain followed a series of empire-wide crises. Barbarians began to attack Roman provinces with greater frequency, and in AD 401-402 Rome began to withdraw troops from Britain to defend Italy. In AD 408-409 Britain was attacked by Saxons, the ancestors of the modern-day English, and in AD 410 the Emperor Honorius told the city of Britain to look to your own defenses. Consequently, Roman Britain came to an end, because the Romans lacked the resources rather than the will. The British comedian once famously asked, "What have the Romans ever done for us?" The truth is that they brought many benefits to Britain. Whether the native inhabitants of Britain wanted them is another question.